What is going on, everybody? Day 73,000 for the coronavirus. I'm here with my man Eric Sheets-Haber. We're trying to do at least our calls of the week. You know, it's been we were talking pre-show, man, and I'm going through a little bit of a rough patch. This thing has me going through depression at times. Like we were talking pre-show about, you know, what's it like going to be for me being single. Like it's how am I going to date in the future? How are other people going to date? Like how about the relationships that are going to come out of this? The whole thing where people are going to feel glued together. Other ones, people are going to never see each other again. I already know some close friends in the business who are no longer with their significant others. It's a rough patch, and I'm alone now. My family's big, and there's a lot of older people who we all want to stay as close together as possible. So everybody sort of has a different area of where I'm at, and I can only go visit if I'm totally separate from the rest of the world. So I have nobody else to interact with in a person-to-person thing, except for my family and some friends who have decided to follow these same procedural things that are extremely cautious, just because of the number of older people. But anyway, it's just been a little bit of a rough patch, man. How are you doing?
So let's talk about what you're watching on TV. Let's talk about MMA. Let's see, let's see what's going on. Let's do a little horse racing. I did a horse racing video today, and I was describing a little of the, we're going a little bit crazy here too. It's a little different because, it's funny, like most of the people I chat with are on Twitter, and I keep forgetting that nobody lives in the same place, right? So I hear all these people saying, oh, what's the big deal? Nothing going on. Why is everybody telling us to stay home? And I keep forgetting that so many people don't live like where I live. And like this is like Nassau County in New York. This place is a disaster. It's like they have the people come on and say, oh, we're still not even close to being able to reopen and stuff like that. And I see all these other states that are just kind of like firing it up or whatever. So I'm like been ordering stuff online. Like I showed you, I have my Haber Capital mask. I have this Linkoping Lions mask, which I had created, which is like my you like this? It's like my poker logo,
Yeah.
And so I got that, I got I told you, I got my LFG hat trotting it around, so we're ordering food online. My daughter's cooking a lot, and it's tough to stay, to keep the entertainment going. You know what I mean? But you, it's like we have it the opposite here. So we have like 4 people of like different ages and different whatever, just kind of all trying to like, I don't want to say survive because we all do get along, but trying to figure out how to just not stay on top of each other and still, have fun together without getting in each other's hair too much and all this stuff. And you have kind of the opposite thing. You can kind of use a little bit more interaction. You know what I mean? Like the other day, like my wife did a birthday drive by. That's what they do around here. Like somebody's birthday, they do this kind of like this car parade where they drive past the person's house and they beep, 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 beep. And they do like some 6 feet apart, just kind of sitting, whatever. And my daughter and my son did something similar. And I'm like, wow, this is like for the first time in like 2 months, I'm actually by myself in this house. You know what I mean? So you're like, boy, I could use a person here and now to kind of keep me going and stuff like that. So first of all, do you play MMA? Did you play this past Saturday?
No, I can't get into it, man. I mean, maybe this is part of my thing. Like sometimes you find something new to get into and you want it. I just had no interest.
Well, let's start over. Do you like MMA in general or no?
I enjoy the big fights. I think overall, like I'm sort of out a little bit on that. I like boxing. I like the old school boxing, but I don't know. I'm into the big fights.
Right. So for me, I never got into MMA. I hate it. Okay. And I just didn't quite get it, whatever. And then there was a card like, and a lot of my friends love it. Okay. And so the card that was like maybe a month or 2 ago, I'm like, nothing's going on, I'll watch it. And I watched these 2 girls just beat the crap out of each other, right? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't get it. I'm like, I can't watch it. I can't do it. I just can't do it. And, and I know, look, I can watch boxing. I've watched boxing my whole life. And I can get into it. Something about the MMA, I just don't get it. And it's not like maybe – and it can't be, well, because I don't know the techniques and stuff, because a zillion people don't know the techniques and they get it. I just don't like it. And I'm like, I don't get it. So this past day, this past Saturday, there was an MMA slate. I'm like, listen, I'm going to try it. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of money. I watched a couple of videos. I watched a couple of things. I applied my whatever. And I did my, I put my lineups in and I watched a couple of fights and you'd think that, if you had money on it, it would just make you like it a little more. And after like a while, I'm like, wow, this freaking sucks, man. And what was bad about it, I was looking at Twitter, and the Twitter was going off like, oh my God, this is great. I can't believe it. MMA is back. This is awesome. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, if this is a good one, I hate to see what a bad one is like. I hated it.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is also from a DFS perspective, I didn't know exactly what to root for with the exception of winning. Like obviously winning's important, right? And I figured out that that if you win faster, you get more, you get more points, right? But I didn't quite get the like, ooh, if this thing happens, it's an extra 5, or if this thing happens, it's an extra 6 or whatever. So I didn't get into the sweat as much as I thought I would have. But as I was looking through the lineups, I see somebody win. I'm like, ooh, I got him, and he's only 20%. So I did get into first of all, the whole idea of betting on DFS again. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed the trying to create lineups and trying to like, for MMA, what I was trying to do is honestly just, see who everybody liked, because I didn't know anything, right? Just see who everybody liked, see who of everybody liked wasn't that popular, and then just kind of try to leave money on the table and just kind of see what happens. And actually, it was a little bit of a sweat. I made a little bit of money. So it was just making money was fun. Just the art of, creating lineups was fun. So I honestly would love to do, and I did a couple for today too. And I'd like to do the auto racing for this weekend. I really would. We could certainly, just do our own research and look at other people's research and come up with a way to present something, whatever. Of course, it'd be great to have someone else on here it's a little more of an expert to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I could probably keep reaching out again. It's hard. That's my least favorite of all sports. I hate
auto racing.
Auto racing more than anything. And I've never.
Do you like betting? You like DFS golf better than auto racing?
Oh yeah, I like DFS.
Really?
I'm way in on DFS golf now. I've completely
interesting.
I'm locked in. I've had a couple deep sweats, even though I didn't really make a ton of money. That just hooked. And now I'm like I'm into golf now. I'm actually all about golf.
Oh, I'm pumped then. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get that. I mean, but the rest of the things like I can't. I mean, I'm happy to talk about it, and I understanding it, like you could still break down lineups without being the most knowledgeable about the sport. But it would be good to get somebody, and I'll keep efforting that one. This is what happens. You get a little bit down, and it's like all of a sudden the things become a little bit like don't feel as urgent to do this. Don't feel as urgent. And that's not my nature. I'm a pretty aggressive.
Right. I know.
It's just going through a little bit of a rough patch over here.
Yeah, I hear you, man. But I'll tell you, by the way, I don't want to tout or whatever.
Yeah.
But we've got a couple of people that have watched the horse racing. I will say this, that horse racing is a lot of variance, but there have been some really profitable days that's been put up on these videos. I have to say, no, I mean it really has been. It's like it's like anything else. It's like when you and I first started talking about DFS, you would tell me who you liked. And even though I knew exactly who you were betting, I still couldn't quite duplicate your performance because I wasn't quite as good with actually how to, structure my bets and stuff like that. So horse racing is a little bit the same. So even though I gave out who I like, being able to put the right bets together is definitely part of the art of it. But for people, but somebody tweeted at me or texted me or whatever, like, "Ooh, you have that 23-1 shot just missed for first." I'm like, "Yeah," and he said, "Oh, it's good. I had the exact. I paid 180 or something like that." I'm like, "So there's money to be made if." You guys, for those of you that want to do it, and as I said on my video today, whether I continue doing it when sports comes back, because I really don't consider this the same, is really going to be up to you. Like if you guys come up and say, dude, seriously, put more horse racing on, I'll totally do it. And if I don't hear from you, then I just won't. It's fine by me also. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm more than happy to keep it to myself like I have for 20 years. That's fine also.
No, but I mean, it is important for people to know, like, you're like incredibly successible at this historically, and that this is a great free avenue if you want to.
Yeah.
You enjoy hearing us talk. Like, so let's do that. I mean,
make no mistake. If you told me that there would be the 12-game baseball slate tomorrow, there would be no horse racing on tomorrow morning. I promise you. Well, maybe, I don't know. Well, first of all, let's talk about baseball for a minute. So, it really seems as though they are going to try to play in July, right?
So they say.
Let me ask you. Okay, so let's have some fun.
So here's the whole thing. Like, this is part of my frustration with this. A couple weeks ago, I got optimistic, and I started seeing some trends that were good. And partly, you can't just trust what you hear on the news. So I started looking into it, and most importantly, the one thing I may not be tapped into all the owners and the general managers and all the meetings with the commissioner, but I am tapped into the people who are tapped into the most that are going to release it. And
Okay.
I'm not getting inside information. I'm just trying to get good information on that. And I think sports is a part of it, but I mean, even the same stuff about reading the right people and learning the right things about COVID,
Yep.
when things are going to reopen and all that stuff. And I felt like there was a really good wave going on for a couple weeks ago that looked a little bit. And then what I started noticing is every day as things really didn't get better after a certain point, they started getting a little bit worse. Everybody still talked as if things were going better until there was like a new report out or something. And I just was like, oh, I got demoralized immediately a couple days after. So flash forward, beginning of this week, I'm pretty demoralized to start the week. I'm listening to some of the podcasts of the people on Monday morning, just about all the things that had happened with the owners meeting last week for basketball. And they basically came out of it. The people who I listened to were absolutely down on it, completely down on the idea of betting against the idea of having a season. But then all
the
of a
NBA.
sudden, yeah, the NBA. So this is how fast things happen, though. We're gonna have this a lot. There's gonna be a lot of ebbs and flows, both in relation to these and in relation to these sports. So when people say, "Oh, it's gonna happen this time," I just go, "Okay, well, let's just take it with a grain of salt."
Let's see. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't believe anything yet, because who knows what's gonna happen between now and next week right now. So anyway, with the NBA though, the one positive thing that happened that I did talk to you about, I can't speak to the MLB because I just think it's hard to start something in the middle of all this. I don't think football is going to have as much of an issue, to be honest, though. I think football is actually going to find a way to just do it. Those people, those states, those owners, the players are already risking themselves. Like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
College will not. Just absolutely my guess.
Wow, you think so, huh?
I'm just going to bet against anything college-related, significant sports-wise happening. That's just my guess for the end of the year. But with the NBA, the great thing that happened yesterday was there was a call with Chris Paul organized it. The 10 of maybe the best 15 players in the NBA. I don't know who you want to say. I think Harden and a couple guys Jokic weren't on the call, but everybody, LeBron, Westbrook, all the everybody,
like the superstars, like Karis LeVert, he was in there.
He wasn't in there. Kevin Durant was in there.
Well, I dispute the entire media if there was no Karis LeVert in the.
So this goes into a funny thing. So here's what we've got. The players are discussing very intelligently, in my opinion, because they're saying, okay, well, first of all, the collective bargaining agreement is going to be greatly affected going forward, depending on getting whatever happens at the end of the season, because that's how it works. The structures can keep going up or down or whatever. They're going to immediately have to go down for 2 years from now. It's going to hurt players down the road even. So these guys are like trying to figure it all out. And basically what they decided was that, this is just, I'm summarizing what I've been told by other people. But basically the thing is, if the league reopens, we can't have an auto shutdown if one person gets it. We have to isolate that person and go, and if it happens with a couple people, we have to assume that might happen even in these extreme circumstances we'd be playing under, and not shut it down entirely again, because that could create even a little bit more of a problem for the league going forward, because that's where some of the owners were coming from. How does it affect next year? All this stuff like that. But the fact that they were on the same page seemingly about that idea and had what they called a very good call. They talked to Adam Silver afterwards, and basically the general feeling is much more optimistic than it was. Like 2 days ago might have been one of the down times for the NBA even coming back at all, and then all of a sudden today we have one of maybe the most positive things that have happened. And it's going to take stuff like that to happen. Now, it can't really happen like that in baseball. I just think in baseball, it's going to be hard to start this thing. You're talking about a lot of players. You're talking about a lot of families. Talking about a long time. It's tough, obviously. And playing without fans is, like, honestly, baseball. Like, I'm sorry, guys. I love baseball, but baseball is the sport that I love because I love going to games. It's how you fall in love with the game. It's a different experience. And it's one of the most important things for these people financially. The owners don't make the same kind of revenue on these games that they do in other sports. So why would you even have much of a regular season at all, if any? And even cutting it at half seems long to me. You might even see like a really tiny like blip of it. I don't even know. I just can't.
What do you think? What do you think of the fact that? And I got to go back and forth. What do you make of this idea that the actual owners and players have been actually squabbling? You know what I mean, over different money issues. Whether the players would want to be compensated, on a pro rata basis for how many games they play, and the owners basically want to tell the players to take a pay cut for this year. And the first thing my first instinct is that they're really going to like not have the season over a freaking money squabble at this point. You know what I mean? Like, honestly. But then on the other hand, I'm like, well, if that's really what they're bickering about, maybe they're really playing. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that this is what they're, you know, if this is really what they're bickering about is a few dollars, really, which is all it is maybe they really have this thing with the Arizona and I forget how they're going to do it, but I think it was also kind of a sneaky, interesting announcement yesterday. Some people thought it was just kind of LOL, but Arizona, when they opened up pretty much their whole economy yesterday, one of the things they mentioned is we are open for major league sports. You know what I mean? Gee, thanks. There are none. You know what I mean? But the fact that they actually said that, maybe that was a procedural thing that actually had to be said to actually finalize some kind of baseball season.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I really do.
Well, Bobby, I will tell you this, okay? If you know, the optimistic view and the view that a lot of people are taking right now is they want to do a preseason in June or a spring training in June and first games in July or maybe around July 4th or whatever. I will say this, and they were talking about like double headers with 7 innings or something like that. If they announce a 12-game slate, regular season slate, and they call it like a millionaire maker, call it $20 entry fee, I will say this, you better be ready to enter because that's going to sell out in like 2 seconds.
I mean, I think you're going to see like $1 million for first place tournaments.
Oh, easily. You know what I mean? And that's going to sell out instantly. Almost.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I totally agree. The only part about it that people would be like worried, oh, how are people going to have money for all this? And I get that question.
Okay.
No, I get that question like a lot. Like, how are people going to have money to do this? I'm going, well, you do realize that in depressions are like the things that spike historically: prostitution, liquor, and betting
and what they say, I used to in economics you say vice has had the inelastic supply and demand curve. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really matter. People are just going to find a way to smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol and gamble on chalky long relievers for the Devil Rays. You know what I mean? That's what people are going to do. Yeah. So, by the way, why have you not? Just because you're just not into it? I mean, if I were you, honestly, yeah, I would have played the baseball. I really would have.
Oh, the Korean baseball?
Yeah.
Okay, so it all started the same weekend when I moved up to Santa Barbara here to be around my family more full time and stuff, and so that was sort of caught me off the beginning of it. The timing issues bother me. The lineup changes that I saw some issues with bother me.
Aren't you awake? I mean,
at 3 a.m.
Oh, it's 3 a.m. your time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I know it's I'm asleep. I didn't know when. I didn't really know when.
Yeah. It's or 2:30 in the morning. I mean, I could change my schedule if I'm not that into. Like I don't know how to. I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm learning about it. Like I already know. I picked up on the players. I'm reading the articles. Barely, but I just don't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable like being an expert. I can figure out the lineup making part of it, and I'm gonna get into it. I just haven't gotten there yet. And honestly, like right after I got up here, I spent time with my family. Then I had 2 days of poker back to back, which, as you know, like there's nothing more consuming if you're playing like 10 tables of poker. You're at 18 hours a day for 2 days back to back, which was a terrible Sunday, by the way, and a very good Monday that almost paid off.
Oh, really? I didn't see what happened.
I made 3 final tables on Monday.
What?
And I finished 4th and 3rd in 2 tournaments, but they weren't the biggest of tournaments.
Okay.
Oddly enough, the same guy who keeps beating me in every freaking tournament, that Guru the Degen guy, this guy makes like 700% ROI for some reason. Anyway, so the poker overall has been a great. It's funny, the more I've won, the less I've been inclined to play. Partially because I don't have another stream of income exactly right now.
Right.
So it's a little bit nerve-wracking to, I don't want to lose $30K in a week, especially without huge prize pools, and like they're dangerous games. You could get bad beat a few times early in the 2,500. Next thing you know, you're
in for 10,000 if you have the money.
And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I pretty much have like a hard 1 to 2. I did play 2 of them one weekend, but that's mostly my cat. Anyway, also getting money off and on has been frustrating. I made a lot of money on Bitcoin for a while because it's really spiked as remember we did a thing at the beginning of this. It's at 3,800 and it's got up to 10K. It's at 99, a little over 9K, I think now. On March 12th, I think it was at 3,800 and right before this. And we talked about it like that day. And all of a sudden it's, now it's at 9,200. So I've also been dabbling against your better wishes in a few different stock things that
How are you doing?
I'm up like 12%.
Nice.
Yeah, they're pretty logical bets, and then trying to find them at the right price is tricky.
You have a plan? I mean, you know when you're going to sell them, or?
No, well, I think they're long term. I mean, half of it is basically DraftKings at the right time.
Okay.
So, and DraftKings was down. They were down. They started at 11 or 12, and they're up to 20 something, 23 now, 24 after a bad day today. But so look, it's. I'm just dabbling. I'm trying to find other avenues. We've talked to some other people about some new businesses. I've been looking into some robotics stuff, which we haven't really talked about, but. I have a friend who started this literally just a site talking about what was happening in robotics, working maybe an hour a day, and then turned it in, sold, to a major company in 2 years. So he's been trying to get me into some stuff. So, look, this is what I'm trying to do to keep busy, along with spending time with family, binge watching shows.
What are you watching?
When I get myself into it. Well, okay, so let's talk about shows. All right, so the one show I can't seem to get into, and everyone thinks I should be into it, but and it's funny, I love the other stuff the guys did. I'm not that into Billions. I'm through 2 seasons of it now. It's a lot of content, so I can catch up. But
yeah, so here's my problem with Billions, right? So again, it's my industry, so I know a little bit, right? And I'm able to dismiss the stuff that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? You kind of learn that, like all the different gambling shows that you watch, you're like, oh, they screwed this up. You kind of learn to get over that, right? Sort of. So I was able to get over that. The thing that kind of left that didn't pique my interest after like a while with Billions is it seemed to be just way too reliant on kind of cutesy pop culture references and like cutesy movie quotes and music stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you're a smart, compliment. I understand. Yeah, you're pretty, blah, 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 and all this stuff. So I kind of lost interest in it. I stopped watching after like the first season. And then on my flight back from Singapore, just because there was like nothing to do. I had an 18-hour flight. I watched every other freaking movie on that freaking flight that I did catch up, and I watched those, and it was fine. And so I did catch up to this season, and it's just kind of okay. It's really not that big a deal. I'm kind of with you on that.
Yeah. I've also watched like every horror movie I can get my hands on.
So let's talk about shows, because I need new ones. I've been pretty sadistic about watching a shitload, right? Including stuff that I hadn't seen before. So first of all, listen, don't ever presume that what type of thing you would think I would like, okay? Because 2-3 different times you mention a particular show and you're like, well, there's this, but I really just don't think you'd like it. So I just kind of kind of ignored it. And then you said again, yeah, I'm watching this, but I don't think it's for you, whatever it is. And then like somebody else say, oh, I'm kind of watching this, and I watched it. Dude, freaking Dave is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would think I would like Dave is like probably my favorite thing that I've seen in the last 2 months.
I think it's
insanely good. You know what I mean?
So good. It's so good.
Yeah. So I liked it. And it's kind of fun because it seems like every episode's like 7 minutes. You know what I mean? Just like, yeah. And you just blast through that. I really like that. Another show which I had never seen, which I watched all 3 seasons of, and this is probably the wrong time to watch this, but it's in a way kind of topical. It's really fucked up. You ever watch The Leftovers?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, okay, I guess that it's quarantine time. I can actually talk about this stuff. I don't really care about, whatever. I can always delete this video later on if I want to. But so the second time in my life you watched the whole show, right?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so I watched the first season. I was like fascinated for the first part of it. Then it kind of got lost me towards the end of the first season. The second season was incredible, especially towards the end, even though it went way off the deep end.
Yep.
It all happened in the second to last episode. So I decided to finish it. And it was the second time I'd ever done mushrooms.
Okay.
So I'm pretty old late in my life.
Oh my God, I cannot imagine what would happen to my brain if I was
sure he was going to watch him with me, and then his girlfriend called him, and he decided to go. Which later on, had his own story about that. I'm watching this, and I'm going, "What is happening?" Like I couldn't just fathom.
Yeah.
If you've watched The Leftovers, the second to last episode,
yeah,
it's just like a little bit like, "Whoa, we just like skipped 17 seasons," and
yeah,
and I'm just like, so that's a cool one. I actually thought that one was really, really cool.
I thought Leftovers was amazing. I watched all 3 seasons. I was really effed up. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's the way I kind of feeling, like kind of like walking outside, you know, whatever. I'm gonna feel like I'm in those freaking white coats with the cigarettes, just like not talking to anybody. Like, dude, what the hell's going on here? You know, so I really, really enjoyed that. I did get through, believe it or not, I can't believe I never saw a single episode of this. I did get through all of Better Call Saul, one through the end, and I liked it.
Yeah.
I did like it. Let me tell you also, like, my new pet peeve about binge watching and about recommending shows. I'm so not into when people say to me, hey, listen, watch this show. It might take you like a season or so to get into it, but you just bear with it. It'll get there. That's just not the way to sell something, man. Like, right. I don't want to, I have to sit through something that sucks before it kind of gets there, you know? So, and that's what people were telling me of Better Call Saul, which always was what turned me off to kind of like starting it. You know what I mean? Because people say, oh, it's really not that good, but it'll get there. I'm like, you know, why don't I'm freaking over 50, man. My life is short. I don't want to freaking sit through something terrible. And it turns out I liked it right from the beginning, actually. Yeah. So it was, it seemed to have worked out.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of slow, but it's actually like, I like the pace. I like that show. I've been watching a lot of other like documentary type of
Did you see Waco?
They released it. Yes, this shows you how bad I have trouble sleeping. So I woke up early Tuesday morning and I saw they had this new Trial by Media. So now I've got like one episode left of that. There's like 7.
What's it called?
Trial by Media.
What is that?
Basically historical things that were significant, like the guy who got confronted on Jenny Jones' show and then killed the other guy afterwards, or the subway vigilante from, remember New York in the 80s? Remember?
Yeah, of course.
Do you know Bernie Getz? You know the subway. You know, right? Yes, but most people I could say that to, and they literally have no idea. Yeah. So here's the weird part: is before I knew the extent of how bad everything was, I'm 18 years old. I'm in sales for a company that sells like test and measurement equipment, and he's one of my regular customers. It was Bernie Getz. It was the same Getz. Yeah, the same one, same apartment in New York, by the way, which is interesting enough that he was in initially. And then the how far he went with it, I didn't know all the details. The internet was a thing, but it wasn't the thing that it is now.
Right.
So had I known, I'm pretty sure I would have just on moral ground, like sort of stayed away from that one because it's a pretty ugly little story. But there's some cool ones in there. There's the one about Rob Guyevich, you know, like I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Did you see Chernobyl?
I haven't watched Chernobyl. That felt a little bit depressing for this vibe to me.
It's great. It's a really good show though. Chernobyl's good. What else have I been seeing? You still haven't seen you want I'm telling you, here's a movie I've recommended a couple of times to you, kind of off the cuff, and you have to kind of dig for it. I mean, you could find it. It's kind of like if you like kind of political stuff, but you also like funny stuff. It's a movie called In the Loop, which probably have seen 30 times. It's got like interesting, neat little cameos by James Gandolfini. Actually, it's got guys that you've heard of, but it's based on a British thing. It's a British movie. It's kind of like political satire, but the guy who the lead in it is just he curses a lot. It's really, really good. It's called In the Loop. It flies, and it's not going to depress you, and it's funny, and it's really good. It's called In the Loop.
I just got it on my list over here. I just put it on my
Excellent.
Have you watched all of Succession?
Okay. I have not watched a single episode of Succession.
Okay. So
Did I watch that?
I'm into it. I watched the second. When I got into the second season, I was like, I actually was in a good mood for a couple days because I knew I had that.
Okay.
So it's just interesting. I don't know how else to describe it. It's incredibly acted. It's really well made. I don't know if this is right, but I laughed as hard at that show as I've laughed in like any show. And it didn't happen in the first season, but the second season, I was constantly like laughing. There's just so many weird, funny things about it. Very, very interesting like story. I don't know. I love that one.
Well, what else did I watch? Like I watched one thing with my wife, and this is one thing that you'll learn. You know, like when you get married or whatever, is like the movies you go to and the things you see. It's not like, well, let's go see something you like today, and then you'll watch something that I like tomorrow. You know, because that just means that one person's miserable each time. So you try to find things that you could both kind of like, you know what I mean? Right. So we watched something called Working Moms, which is a show, which is pretty good. she likes this show Dead to Me, which I can't get into.
So that's the one I was gonna try. People say it's a light show or whatever, and I thought maybe I'll throw it on like in the background while I'm looking up other
might
stuff.
be okay. I'm just this is this is going to come off pretty sexist actually, but I've found that shows that have kind of female leads, they really need to carry it. Like they really need to be good. You know what I mean? Like male leads, for whatever reason, sometimes can get away with not being as good as female leads. But for whatever reason, like female, especially when they're trying to be comedic, sort of, like neither of the main characters like particularly great actresses. And for whatever, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just can't. They don't seem to be able to carry the show for some reason. It's kind of hard to explain. But yeah, maybe you'll disagree with that. Hopefully.
Yeah, no, I'll take a look. I'll take a look at the show. I haven't noticed that specifically, but there just aren't as many female leads in like that, so it's hard,
That's true.
So I can't think of a bunch of great ones, off the top of my head, because there haven't been as many and there will be more, obviously, but like anyway, there hasn't been lately.
Yeah. Is
there any other thing that maybe? Let's see. We talked poker. We talked about the horse racing. I think is important, and that's great that you're doing that. And
I think that I honestly think it would make you feel better. I think you should either play MMA or play Korean baseball or just something to get you back into DFS, because you do like that. You know what I mean? And get you back into it. I mean, I'm telling you, I don't care how much you're making in poker, and and that's with me too. For me, it's just way too much time. I mean, I just love I love the 2 or 3 hours I could spend on DFS, right? And then just kind of sit back and just watch people perform for me. You know what I mean? As opposed to having to sit there and perform. It's rough, man. So I think you should get back into it, and I think you should either play MMA or play Korean baseball just for the sake of creating lineups again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know, that would be me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a good idea, and let's see, when's tonight's stuff? It's 2:30. Maybe I'll give it a shot tonight.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. But again, for you, I don't know if it'll work, because if you're sleeping when the action's going on, I don't know if you can handle it. You know what I mean? You like to sweat.
Oh, I can. No, I can. I fell asleep for a 6-figure win before.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard. I have trouble sleeping anyway, so then I get like hooked on it once at a certain point. I've also like sat up and watched every play of in baseball, while I've been in Europe, to try and sweat. So it's this goes both ways.
Hey, did you like the documentary? Did you like the Bulls thing?
Oh, okay. So that's my favorite thing that I've seen by far. I could critique it later down the road. It's so much better than everything else on right now to me. And I think that the only thing I would say is I could use more Jordan. Like, that's the only thing. I could use a lot more of it. I'm really disappointed that it's coming to an end. I love every single bit of that. I get chills. I had chills the entire. I thought 7 was the best episode. The best in recent memory that I watched. But I get chills the whole time. I mean, honestly, it made me want to go back, and I actually did the other night watch an old basketball game that was on. I think it was the Suns Lakers game 5 from '93. Which was a 3 out of 5, and the Suns were the best record. That was the year they played the Bulls in the finals, and the Lakers were terrible as an 8 seed, almost beat them. It just felt good. It just feels good every which way. I really realized during this period that I like basketball so much better than every other sport.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's not even in the ballpark though. I don't even have another, I'm really addicted to it. I actually it's my favorite thing. I love knowing about it. Even if I didn't do this, I would still know everything as much as I could about it. I don't know. I just really, really miss it.
So let's talk. Screw. Let's talk for 5 minutes about Jordan, okay? Because we've avoided this. Right? Everybody's talked for 4 hours about Jordan, right? We can talk 5 minutes about Jordan in general, right? So, and I see some takes. I see some takes about how good Jordan was or wasn't, and I see some people come up and say, well, if Jordan were playing today, he wouldn't be a top 20 player. I've seen that.
First of all, that person, you should never read anything that person writes again.
But on the way I describe it,
the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life.
So the way I describe it is this: is by that nature, are you telling me that, let's say that the 19th best player, if you put him back in Jordan's era, he would have dominated as much as Jordan? I can't imagine that being the case. You know what I mean? So this is the thing, right? When I was living it, right, I was, between 15 when he I had money on I was 15. I had money on Georgetown against North Carolina in that final. So he's been beating me for a long time. Okay, and then I was right into and I was sort of an adult, so I was able to think analytically. And one of the things I was always thinking about when I was growing up is is when people started to compare people to guys from earlier eras, right? And I would say, okay, like Hank Aaron, is he was good as Babe Ruth, or is this Clemens as good as, Walter Johnson, whatever it is. And I was able to see how, the more modern player could be, could be better than the older player if put back in there. And when Jordan was playing, I distinctly remember thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, in 20 years, there are going to be people that there'll be new players. I have no idea who they're going to be, that people are going to say that, well, Jordan wasn't that good because these guys would be so much better. And all the way back then, I'm like, I am telling myself right now that that is just not possible. Like as I was watching, I was being very, very analytical. I'm like, okay, even looking ahead 20 years, unless everybody is like 7'4", you know what I mean? And can do the things that Jordan does and can never miss shots, then I don't want to hear it because I know what I'm seeing. And you just have to kind of, I hate to say you had to have been there. Even like the statistics like show that he's.
But let's just use some weird things, there are guys who play today who still played with Jordan. Vince Carter comes to mind.
That's true.
There's significant overlap where Kobe was the best player. Look, I'm not arguing Kobe and LeBron here. I'm just going to point out a quick thing. Kobe was the better player in the NBA for a lot of LeBron's time until Kobe's last few years. He played with Jordan. I mean, it goes back. Like it's not like it's that far removed. The athletic stuff is nothing. I mean, if you look at Jordan, he looks every bit the same as these guys. And he didn't lift weights until he was 20 years old. He's a freak the same way LeBron's a freak. They're not similar in any way, but this area. They are the lack of sleeping, all the things. People say LeBron one time sprained his foot and it went completely backwards on his foot. And then next thing he was in the next play of the game. There are unusual things about these guys that are a little different than everybody else, but they're nothing similar other than that. I don't think they're I really don't see how you can compare the two of them. I think it's a ridiculous argument. And one other thing of Kareem, who played through all these weird eras. You know what I mean? Easy to dominate in the 60s because everybody was tiny except for Bill Russell and Wilt. And then 70s, Wilt, that was when basketball was actually at a pretty high point. Kareem won 6 MVPs in the 70s. Then he goes and he dominates in the 80s and wins a couple more titles. He also has 6 rings. Why is Kareem somehow behind LeBron? Why is Kobe somehow LeBron? I don't understand just how we've just assigned all this stuff to LeBron when he's dominated an era. By the way, there's also it's filtered down. We have more teams than we did then. Yeah, that's another big thing. That's partly why Jordan came back in the first place. He said, "I can steal a title in '95." That's what he actually said to B.J. Armstrong. Yeah. I can steal this title because this league is that soft right now. And that's what they went on to win through the next 3.
I'll just put it to you this way, okay? So again, like as I was a basketball fan, and I was a Knick fan, right? Not only was a Knick fan, I also bet on sports, right? All I will tell you is this: whenever I was playing or betting or whatever it was against Jordan, I just can't quite describe it, but every time he got the ball in a situation where you needed a stop, you just knew you had no shot, okay? And it's just kind of hard to explain because, and look, there are a lot of great players out there. I honestly, like, if I was betting against the Lakers and Knicks are playing the Lakers, they dropped it down to Kareem. I'm like, okay, maybe he does something or he doesn't. You know what I mean? Or they get it out to Magic. Maybe he does something, he doesn't. But even like Bird is the only guy that I can kind of feel the same way about. Whenever Bird got the ball in a clutch, I would just turn off the TV. You know what I mean? I just knew it was over. But Jordan, and it's just because of the way nature of basketball is. You could get him the ball. If you have to. You know what I mean? You just had no shot, and that feeling of playing against a guy like that just is a testament, or even rooting against like that is a testament to how freaking insane the guy was. Like, there's literally nobody today, okay, that I would just feel that way about. You know what I mean? And yeah, I know it's different, and Jordan didn't take a lot of threes and all that stuff, whatever it is. But the guy was just so far, in my opinion, just so much better than like everybody else, which is was just impossible to say,
No, the only guy who I mean, the weirdest part is obviously Kobe modeled his whole game after him and everything. And that was really the closest to like a Jordan type in terms of mentality, in terms of game style, in terms of a way, like, it's a little different between the two of them. They're both phenomenal defensive players, obviously. But Kobe, the way he could take over at certain times and get in these groups, but it's still different. Like, Jordan is just a different level than everybody else is. And I really hope that people come out of this saying that. I don't understand what number, even the numbers you look at. Like, the truth is, if James Harden's going to average 37 points, if you put Jordan into that type of a scheme and that type of an offense, and you're going to run that through him, he's going to average 40+ points a game. We get 7 more shots per game. Here's a very simple math way of doing it: 7 more shots per game in this era than you did then. Actually, it might even be a little bit higher now. That's probably a couple years old. That stat. Let's say it's 7 more. So you're get roughly 10% more shots. There's going to be more opportunities to score alone. Not to mention, you can't hand check guys. You can't do a lot of things you used to be able to do. There's a million things that would have made Jordan even greater in today's thing. He translates through all generations. It wouldn't have mattered. Great ones would have all found a way. So we don't need to go into every single step. I am looking right now at ESPN's list of the top 74 players of NBA history. Obviously, they have Jordan number 1. I don't even like LeBron at 2. I mean, if you're getting into the greatest players ever, I don't think it's between LeBron and Jordan. That's just my personal take. I think it's between LeBron and Kareem. And after that, LeBron, Kareem. The one other guy we should mention, Magic really only got 9 full years before he found out he had AIDS. He won 5 titles in those years in a really competitive, what was considered the great point of basketball. You had Jordan, you had the bad boys, you had by the way, he was injured for one of those finals. You had the ones they lost. You had the Celtics. That's domination. And now I don't know what else you need to do. You win 5 titles in 9 years. Look at the team they were playing with in '91 against Jordan's championship team. It was him, a rookie Vlade Divac, and then guys at the end of their career like Perk and all those guys. It just didn't make any sense, That's how great Magic was. So you could make those kind of arguments. But LeBron, being the losingest player in NBA playoff history, he's the only player that's in the top 20 that has a losing record to teams over 500 in the playoffs. That's a really strange stat to me. He's the losingest player, and people can say what he wants about teammates, and this is my favorite argument. Well, Jordan always had Scottie. Look at who LeBron won his titles with. He had Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, who at the time were both, in terms of how the league was graded out, top 20 players. Kyrie was actually top 10 twice, top second team All-NBA. Then he has Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, who were always top 15. So what are we talking about?
I kind of don't want to hear it about Scottie. We went over this already.
It's just nuts to me. The whole LeBron love has just gotten out of control. He's done it all by himself and all this. And he took a team like this. Well, what did he win with a team like that? What did he ever win without these guys?
And the last thing I'll say about the Bulls again is that first of all, 6 wins and no losses, right, in finals.
No elimination games.
Yeah, and for those that said that they didn't play any, whatever it is, what the league was like, I will say this. First of all, that Phoenix team that they beat was freaking insane. Okay, and second of all, first they did have to beat those Pistons, and not only that, but that one thing that started all that freaking elimination game against Cleveland. That Cleveland team was insane with Doherty and Elo and all these guys. You know what I mean? So it was and Price of all things. You know what I mean? It angers me.
The Knicks teams were good back. There was a lot of good teams out there, and there was good teams in the West that they beat in the finals. That Portland team was excellent.
Forget about it.
That was a really, 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 really good basketball team. Ironically, the team had skipped on Jordan. They really they had it. You know what I mean? Can you imagine though? There's just a real quick flashback. Can you imagine if they decided that people weren't just complete idiots back in the '80s and they just decided, okay, well, we're going to play with Clyde and Michael Jordan in the backcourt? Because I think that would have worked out pretty well. I'm pretty sure that would have been the greatest team in the history, but we wouldn't even have an argument. They were great anyway. They were a 60-win team without Jordan. Imagine putting Jordan with those guys. It would have been nuts.
Hey, Ashley. What? When's the duck going to be ready?
This is what we're at.
6:15.
What are we making? Duck with what?
Duck with roasted potatoes. I think Mom got rice, but I'm not eating that. And then broccoli.
Okay, so I'm good, man.
Truffle roasted
potatoes.
Oh
okay.
I love it. You're good. All right, man. Well, it's good to catch you up. You did put me in a little bit of a better mood.
Good. I'm gonna run. I will talk to you later, man.
All right, guys. Take it easy. Stay safe out there, everybody.
Bye-bye.